here I am in Kolibica, just passing through on my sleigh. And I thought I'd tell you a story or two. And the first one I'm going to tell you is from the Isle of Man in England, which is a little north of Wales. Well, it's an island, actually. An island just off the coast of England. And it's a little north of Wales. And it's a little east of Liverpool. And that's wrong. Hello, I'm in Kolibica. I've just come here on my sleigh in Transylvania. But the first story I'm going to tell you is a story from the Isle of Man, which is an island just off the coast of England. It's a little west of Liverpool, a little north of Wales, a little east of Ireland. And it's about an old woman. And she lived up in the mountains all by herself. And she loved it up there. The birds came and ate from her windowsill. The animals came and ate from her door. And she would occasionally go down to the town. And the people of that town would say, "Why do you want to live up in the mountain by yourself? Why don't you come down in here and live with us?" She said, "I love it up there. The birds come and eat from my windowsill. The animals come and eat from my door. But to tell you the truth, occasionally she got a little bit lonely, especially in the winter when the snow was piled high and there was a log in the fire. And it was one such night. It was chilly. She'd lit the fire. She was warming her hands and she was wishing she had someone to speak to. And just then she looked up and there was a pair of yellow eyes in the window. And there was a scratching on the door, and she opened the door, and there was the scruffiest, scrawniest, most moth-eaten cat you've ever seen in all of your lives. And she brought it in. She put it by the fire to warm it up, and she brushed its fur and gave it something to drink and something to eat. She did this every day until its fur shone. It was golden, the colour of beech leaves in autumn. And she'd talk to the cat. And the cat would watch her as if it understood every word she was saying. And when she was baking, the cat would watch her as if to say, "So that's how it's done." And she called the cat Cro-ma-Cree, blessed of my heart. And everywhere the old woman went, the cat went too. She trudged through the snow. She got water from the stream. So it went on until one day she put a bucket in the stream and she pulled it out and she looked round and the cat was nowhere to be seen. Cro-ma-Cree, Cro-ma-Cree, where are you? Cro-ma-Cree means blessed of my heart. She called it that. That was its name. Cro-ma-Cree, Cro-ma-Cree, where are you? And she looked up the mountain, it wasn't there. She trudged down the mountain, snow on her boots, wasn't there. She looked round the mountain, wasn't there. So one day she hears a scuffling in the undergrowth. She pushes the grass aside and there's a little fellow, no taller than that. One of the Buganes, one of themselves, one of the good folk. You must really love that cat, said the little fellow. Give me, I knew it was you who'd taken it. Give me my cat back now. First, you must perform 3 tasks. Give us the first, I'll do anything. Talk is cheap. It's action that counts. Well, tell me the first. Well, next Saturday is the Good People's Fair, and there'll be more people there than there are at a big fair in the summer in Transylvania. And you must bake cakes for all of us. Well, she went home and she started baking. She heard a voice in her head saying, "Cut the pieces small, cut the pieces small." And she made hundreds and hundreds of the tiniest little cakes you've ever seen in all of your life. And the next Saturday there's on the door, And she opened the door, and there was row upon row of Buggane, these little people, each with a tiny basket on their backs. And she filled each one up with tiny cakes, and they thanked her for making them so small. Give me my second task, she said. I'll do anything. Talk is cheap. It's action that counts. Next Saturday is the Good People's Hunt, and you must hunt with us from the time the sun comes up to the time the sun comes down. Well, she wasn't that keen on hunting. The idea of riding a horse all day was just, she was getting a bit old for that, but she thought she'd get ready. So she's getting on her riding clothes, and she hears a voice in her head saying, ride to the front and grip with your knees, ride to the front and grip with your knees. And the next Saturday, there was a knock on the door just as the sun was rising, and there was row upon row of Buggane, each on a tiny pony. And the front one was holding a horse, and that was for her to ride. They borrowed that from farmer down the road, and they hadn't even asked his permission. And she rode to the front, and she gripped with her knees, and she felt the wind in her hair and the wind in her skirts. And she forgot about the little people, the hunt, or even a cat clawing a tree. And before she knew it, the sun was setting. And she'd ridden all day. Well, she was sore, but the Bugganes must have been sore, but she heard nothing more from them for a whole week. But a week later, there was a knock on the door, and there was the little fella. Time for your third task, they said. Tell me, I'll do anything. Talk is cheap. It's action that counts. Well, tonight is the Good People's Dance, and you must dance with us from the time the sun goes down till the time the sun comes up. Well, she wasn't that good at all-night parties when she was a girl, and, well, it wasn't easy, but she got ready, and she's putting on her best frock, her best dress, and she heard a voice in her head saying, remember the songs of your youth, remember the songs you knew when you were a little girl. And so what good's that going to do me? Still, the voices have been good so far. So she went down. There was the little stone circle, and there was little people dancing, and there was a fiddler playing a fiddle off his elbow, gypsy style. And first of all, he played a jig, and she danced a jig. Then he played a reel, and she danced a reel. Then he played a polka, and she danced a polka, then the same jig, then the same reel, then the same polka, then the same jig, then the same reel, then the same polka. And before she knew it, the sun was setting. The sun was rising, and she was the last person on her feet. And she completed all 3 tasks. Give me my claw, my crib back. Give me my cat back now, she said. So, patience, they said. Patience. Talk is cheap, she said. It's action that counts. And she went home, and she waited, and she waited, and she waited. And there was a knock on the door, and she opened the door. Instead of a cat was the most beautiful girl she'd ever seen in all of her life, standing in the snow. And she invited that girl in, and she sat her down, and she asked her story. And the girl told her that when she was just a babe, she'd lost both her parents, and she'd been found by the little people. And realizing she'd need a proper human parent, by an enchantment, by magic, they'd turned her into a cat, and that cat had visited every cottage on the island. And the old one was the only one who'd loved the cat enough to perform all 3 tasks. So she was the one for the girl to live with. And although people tried to give her another name, she was always Graw McCree, blessed of my heart for the rest of her life.